Good evening, everyone. I am Professor Luz P. Dose of the Mindanao State University, General Santos, and I am going to talk about mental health for the youth in leadership position. Good evening to Sarangani Youth Junior officials. I'm invited to talk on mental health by the Office of the Vice Governor in partnership with the Provincial Youth Development Unit as part of their Youth Quarant Trail Transformative Inputs and Learning Quarant Talk. Many of you perhaps are interested to know what mental health is all about. You may have your own definition of what it is, but it's good that we're going to get the ideas from experts. One of the definitions given about mental health is that of finding a balance between resources and challenges, meaning finding a balance between psychological, social, and physical resources and the challenges that they bring toward well-being. Well-being is defined as the state of being comfortable, healthy, or happy, and state means a particular condition that someone or something is in at a specific time. So when we say of the well-being, it may be disturbed if ever the balance is not achieved. So you see, well-being is in the middle, and then you have the resources and the challenges on both sides. Now, when we define mental health, pointing to the well-being and the balance of resources and the challenges, there are points to consider as regard this kind of definition. The definition is observed to be excluding mental illness, and that it lends to misunderstanding when it identifies positive feelings and positive functions as key factors for mental health. And this positive emotion and excellence in functioning as championed by the hedonic and eudaimonic traditions are being questioned because a person who may be in a state of mental health is not always happy, nor it means that you are always in good health. So, let's talk about a positive emotion. There are circumstances when, particularly the adolescents, migrants and minorities, who may be experiencing rejection and discrimination. And so we do not say that they are on having positive emotion. Another point is on positive functioning. Positive functioning could be defined as the ability to work productively and may lead to the wrong conclusion that an individual at an age or a physical condition preventing her or him from working productively is not by definition in good mental health. So, working productively and fruitfully is often not possible, take note, for contextual reasons, as in the case of migrants or discriminated people, which may prevent people from contributing to their community. Positive functioning was advanced by Jehuda, in which he says it will have to include self-realization in that individuals are able to fully exploit their potential. Second, it would include a sense of mastery over the environment and a sense of autonomy, which is ability to identify, confront, and solve problems. Another one, Morphy argued that these ideas were laden with cultural values considered important. For example, individuals in the hands of the terrorists. The definition of mental health is clearly influenced by the culture that defines it. So, it is just like saying that since individuals in the hands of the terrorists are not happy or they cannot function, therefore, they are not in sound mental health. So, what can we deduce from here? According to Weiland, he said that common sense should prevail and certain elements that have a universal importance for mental health might be identified. For example, in spite of cultural differences in eating habits, the importance of vitamins and the 4 basic food groups is universal. Now let's go to the second definition. Second definition of mental health could be, it is a dynamic state of internal equilibrium which enables individuals to use their abilities in harmony with universal values of society. This term, universal values, at some point may be misleading because it is defined differently by certain political and social circumstances. But in this case, as we are talking about mental health, the values we are referring to are respect and care for oneself and other living beings, recognition of connectedness between people, respect for the environment, respect for one's own and others' freedom. When we say dynamic state of internal equilibrium, it means to reflect the fact that different life epochs require changes in the achieved equilibrium. For example, with the adolescents, they experience crisis. You also experience crisis in marriage, or becoming a parent or retirement are good examples of life epochs requiring an active search for a new mental equilibrium. This concept, dynamic state of internal equilibrium, also incorporates and acknowledges that the reality that mentally healthy people may experience appropriate human emotions. And what are these? Fear, anger, sadness, and grief, while at the same time possessing sufficient resilience to timelessly restore the dynamic state of internal equilibrium. So, what are the components of mental health? Mental health, as we know of, is actually composed of many things, such as you have the cognitive and the social skills, emotional regulation, empathy, flexibility, and ability to cope with adverse events. And to elaborate, cognitive skills would have to include the ability to pay attention, remember and organize information, solve problems, and make decisions. Social skills would involve the ability to use one's own repertoire of verbal and non-verbal abilities to communicate and interact with others. Emotional regulation. Emotional regulation means the ability to recognize, express, and modulate one's own emotions, proposed as a mediator of stress adjustment, and a link between inappropriate or ineffective emotional regulation and depression has been found in clinical and neuroimaging studies. A variety of modulated emotional response options that can be flexibly employed contribute to the individual's mental health and alexithymia, or an inability to identify and express one's own emotion. So in order for us to have sound mental health, we need to consider our cognitive skills and our social skills, and emotional regulation is also important. What are others that are important too? We have empathy, the ability to experience and understand what others feel. Then we also have flexibility and ability to cope with adverse events. Today, as an update, IQ now would have to involve our AQ. So we have the IQ, intelligence quotient. We also have to add emotional quotient, and another one new is the AQ, adversity quotient. We have to learn how to cope with adverse events to be mentally healthy. A point on flexibility. Lack of flexibility may result in great distress for a person undergoing sudden or important life changes. Say, we are in the pandemic. We have a visitor which is unwelcome. We call COVID-19. If you do not know how to adjust, you don't depend on your cognitive resources, you don't become flexible. So that might be an occasion or an entry point for some problems within. In mental health, we usually give premium to social roles, the way we relate with others, which is meaningful because it contributes to resilience against distress. But on the other hand, too much of this, which means you engage yourself too much on social activities. How about those who are not able to participate? For those who are experiencing social exclusion and stigmatization, they cannot participate. So are we going to say that they are not mentally healthy? So, the definition of mental health should always avoid blaming the victim and to carefully analyze social patterns of stigmatization, discrimination, and exclusion that impair participation. What does it mean? Those who may not be able to engage in social activities may not necessarily mean that they are not mentally okay. Next. As regards harmonious relationship between body and mind. Inclusion of a harmonious relationship between body and mind is based on the concept that mind, brain, organism, and environment are heavily interconnected. And the overall experience of being the world cannot be separated from the way in which man's body feels in its environment. So, if there are disturbances of this interaction, it may result in psychotic experiences, eating disorders, self-harm, body dysmorphic disorders, or poor physical health. As regard the balance that we have been talking about, why do you think balance matters? The question, do you generally feel well and capable when you feel overwhelmed? Most of us would say that the opposite is true. And this stress can be harmful because it can, add to poor mental health and make it difficult to concentrate, for example. Next is negatively affect our relationships. When balance is not achieved, it also affects negatively the way we act. Next, it can also affect the way we work at school or at our jobs. And if balance is not achieved, it also contributes to a mental illness and add to difficult feelings we are experiencing, and also contribute to or even cause many physical health problems. So, what can we say then about the definition of mental health in the second part? The definition of mental health as opposite to the first one, which was proposed by hedonic and eudaimonic theoretical traditions, it advances the inclusive approach, as free as possible of restrictive and culture-bound statements, and as close as possible to human life experience, which is sometimes joyful, and at other times sad or disgusting or frightening, sometimes satisfactory, and at other times challenging or unsatisfactory. Also, second point, the proposed definition is also compatible with the recovery movement perspective in which recovery after an illness is seen as a process aimed to attain a fulfilled and valued life by building on the functions spared by the illness. In spite of the fact that other functions have been impaired. So what can we say so far about mental health? That it should not emphasize more happiness as it is to the exclusion of other emotions, but that there should always be a balance. So we have to be sensitive about giving a definition of what mental health is, because it can actually exclude or discriminate others. So a mentally healthy person should have a menu of happy and sad emotions. They can be productive, they cannot be productive depending on their circumstances. Okay. So let's go back to the bottom line of mental health, which is striking the balance. What does balance look like? Balance means that we can fully engage in what we need or want to do without that nagging guilt or worry that we should be doing something else. And it means really understanding our own boundaries and needs so that we have the freedom to pursue all the various roles and identities we have or want to have in life. And finding balance leads to greater life satisfaction and well-being, which improves your ability to find balance in the future. Now, one important point about balance is that it is individual. For example, some people need a lot of downtime to relax, while others like to be busy much of the time. Some people like being more connected, while others appreciate more time on their own. Does this sound familiar? Some people may prefer a fixed work schedule, such as leaving work at a set time to avoid staying later than you intended, turning off mobile devices and not checking work emails after a set time, or for students, tackling school assignments alone in a quiet place. While others may prefer, are you familiar with this? Are you in the same environment? Some others may prefer a flexible work schedules. They tend to check their mobile devices and email messages from time to time, or they are happy working with friends at a coffee shop. Now, what can I do about it? How do we achieve balance? First is prioritizing your own wellness. It means your obligations to your own well-being is just as important as your obligations to your boss, teacher, family members, and any others who expect your time. How do you do this? For example, do you enjoy a specific yoga class? Have it in your calendar. Do you need 30 minutes after work to relax? Or do you go home straight to your home? Do you feel most productive when you go for a walk on your lunch break? Do you do that? Let coworkers know that your time is non-negotiable or within reason, of course. So if it's 5 o'clock, then it's time to go. Sometimes, it's unfortunate that people view the priority of self-care as selfish or indulgent because it's so helpful. People who prioritize their own wellness tend to feel better about themselves. But you have to consider Filipino work attitude or values. As much as possible, you have to make pakikisama. Okay? That is why they say, selfish. How do we achieve balance at work? One is, as suggested, bring up workload concerns with your supervisor, especially so in this pandemic time when you are really required to report. Okay, now, if ever you will have your online communication and doing your work at home. Then you try to bring up workload concerns with your supervisor. Make sure that your to-do list is realistic. It's easy to underestimate how long a task will actually take. Be clear about expectations around work in and off hours. Take your breaks away from your desk and try to work in some physical activity. A short walk is a great way to take a break and reduce stress. Figure out how you work best. Talk to a coworker of your workplace who you admire for finding more balance. At least you get additional ideas. Then you can also use free resources. Then this is taken from an article which is actually trying to talk about standard is balance. So balance of work. How about balance at home? Give everyone a chance to talk about their own needs and expectations, and then talk about realistic ways to share the load at home. It's not good that you stay in your seat for the long time, just doing work with your computer, and you disregard other work at home. Then work together to solve problems and find solutions. For example, how about childcare schedule? If caregiving is creating a lot of stress at home, like if you have an elderly at home, your parents are already elderly, so you try also to solicit help from others. Okay? So, it is needed that in order for us to have balance, we have to be careful about priorities. We have to take care of ourselves, and we have also to take care for others. And I would like to share with you an insightful living. It is difficult to create balance. We may fail, we may break, we may fall, but then we rise, we heal, we overcome. That's all.